So my counselor says to me, how long have you been married? 15 years. And how long did he know this other woman he left you for? 4 weeks. He just up and moved from Albuquerque to San Francisco to live with her? Yep. This is what we call a classic midlife crisis. You just have to wake up every morning and tell yourself, my husband has lost his mind. And hope he gets it back during the separation and not after the divorce. The irony is, I thought Jim had lost his mind when 10 months into dating, he wakes me up in the middle of the night, drunk, and says, will you marry me? I just stared at him. I didn't know if I wanted to marry him. But I thought, not a lot of guys can look past the wheelchair. So I said yes. And it was a great choice. As poor newlyweds in Albuquerque, we would escape the summer heat by going to the mall and doing window shopping. Sometimes we go to the public golf course, rent a cart, and he'd hand me a club and say, put the fat end of the stick against the gas pedal, honey, and let's go. And we'd careen across the golf course with me behind the wheel. And every night as we went to sleep, our fingers were laced loosely together. Oh, I loved him deeply. Which is why I keep seeing the counselor. Because the separation is hell. Every time I go to the grocery store and I pass food I used to buy for Jim, I feel the pang of loss. I buy less food. I'm not hungry as I struggle to say I instead of we. I can't let go and I can't move on because I'm waiting for Jim to make up his mind about the marriage, which is galling. But I can do one thing. I can decide whether or not I will see him. And I refuse to see him unless he wants to talk about reconciliation. If he needs to get stuff from the house, I make sure I'm not there. But one day I'm home and the phone rings. It's Jim. Hey, I'm outside the house. I had to fix the truck. Can I come inside and wash my hands? I know he's just trying to manipulate me. Well, I guess I could use the snow to wash my hands. Okay, fine. I'm in the study with the door closed. Come in and do what you need to do, and then leave. I listen as the front door opens, and I hear his footsteps go into the kitchen. I hear the water running in the sink. Normally, I would have jumped up, happy to have him home, and gone to greet him. I hear the water in the sink turn off. I imagine him using the paper towels to dry his hands I used to hold. And then I listen for his retreating footsteps. But instead, I hear cabinet doors opening and closing. I hear items being moved around. And then I hear the vacuum cleaner. What, is he cleaning? But I refuse to investigate. I know he's trying to draw me out so we can have a little conversation and he can be my friend. But you do not kick me to the curb after 15 years of marriage and get to be my friend. Yeah. So, 3 months go by. I come home from a trip. There's a letter waiting for me on the counter from Jim, and it says, I have no intention of returning to this marriage. I want a divorce. Ugh. I feel sick to my stomach. My brain freezes. I mean, this was always a possibility, even the likely outcome, and yet when it comes, I'm stunned. I don't know how I'm going to get over this. But as I move through the divorce proceedings, I begin to feel like I am awakening from a coma. Instead of cocooning at home, cuddled up with my husband, watching endless movies, I do things Jim never would have done. I go to a lecture by a Buddhist nun on forgiveness. I see Smokey Robinson in concert. Yeah, baby. And then on the weekends, I'll take little day trips to see small towns and pueblos I've never seen before. And in the process, I rediscover myself. my curiosity, my spontaneity, my interests that I had lost over 15 years of small compromises. And then out of the blue, I get recruited by the World Bank to come work in DC. Now, I don't want a new high-stress job, but this is a chance to go someplace new and start over. And there's no chance I will run into Jim and his new girlfriend because they've moved back to Albuquerque. And this is another great choice. I get over Jim by creating a new circle of friends. I take exotic trips to Rwanda, India, Madagascar, and I have a few lovers along the way. Like Murad, my Egyptian lover, 28 years my junior. And I go to great parties, like this party at Rosa Mexicana during Obama's second inauguration. The room is dark, noisy, and crowded with slick politicos. I find an open space, and I perch myself there to survey the room. I put my hands on my hips because I have just seen a TED video that says if you make yourself physically larger, you become more powerful. And this man comes and stands next to me. I glance up and I say hello. He's obviously wearing this ill-fitting rented tuxedo, right? So I look for somebody more interesting in the room. But he stays there. And I think, do I know this guy? Out of the corner of my eye, I take in his receding hairline and weathered face, kind of like a human raisin. Makes me wonder when I last used sunscreen. And a few more minutes goes by, and he's still there, and I think, gosh, I guess I'm supposed to know this guy, but I can't place him. I really don't know who he is. And then he puts his arm around my shoulder and gives me a little side hug. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely supposed to know this guy. I pull away from him, I turn up and I look at him, and then I go, holy shit. It's Jim, my ex-husband I haven't seen in 12 years. And I'm still stunned staring at him, and he says, yeah, we tried to come to Obama's first inauguration. Okay. But it was really cold. Yeah? But this is a good excuse to get all dressed up. Okay. And then he walks away. And as he walks away, I'm thinking, oh my God, I never, ever in my wildest dreams thought I'd run into Jim at a party in DC. And I'm completely dumbfounded about what was he thinking. I mean, he sees me, he chooses to approach me and wait for me to identify him. He must have had some fantasy that I'd take one look at him and be overcome with joy, and we would become friends again, and he would have closure for turning me into a divorce cliche. In other words, he's still out of his mind, because instead, I didn't even recognize him. Talk about a finale. I thought I was over this guy, but I had no idea how much I was over this guy.